You're listening to Simon Scriver's amazingly ultimate fundraising superstar podcast, talking all things fundraising, charities, nonprofits, and more. Here's your host, as always, Simon Scriver.
Well, it's been 1 week since the fundraising tip. Yes, that tribute to Canadian musical act Bare Naked Ladies is a sign that we are back for another weekly fundraising tip. And this week we are focusing on your community fundraisers, your peer-to-peer fundraisers, whatever you want to call it. These are the volunteers out there who decide to fundraise for you. So whether they're doing some sort of challenge event, taking part in a marathon, filling a bathtub with baked beans or razor blades or whatever the hell people are doing these days. People out there, regular people who decide to fundraise for you, and how we interact with them is really important. It can be the difference between them raising lots and raising very little. It's also the difference between them coming back and doing something else for you again, or developing that relationship. So we want to make sure we get it right. So that's what we're focusing on this week. So first of all, what I would say is you want to make sure that you do reach out and contact these lovely fundraisers in the run-up to the event. As soon as they register, as soon as they set up a fundraising page, as soon as you get some indication that they are going to fundraise for you. That's pretty obvious, although we do have a tendency to neglect it sometimes or forget about it. But we just want to remember that we have to thank them. We have to thank them profusely. We have to reaffirm that what they're doing is a good thing. It also gives us an opportunity to check their data, to see if they maybe need to get their email address corrected or maybe get their postal address, if only we have a phone number. And it also gives us an opportunity to get some feedback. Why is this person fundraising for you? Let's ask them some questions. Let's get their story. Let's find out what we can about them, because that's going to help us build a relationship with them. And it's just kind of interesting. Yeah. When we're talking to them as well, and yes, we are going to try and talk to them, even if they register online, it's worth trying to pick up the phone to them. But in any interaction, in a phone call or an email or whatever way you're communicating with them, we want to remember that we're going to have to teach them how to fundraise. This is why those fundraising manuals or fundraising packs are really good for community fundraisers. But just on a very basic level, we need to teach them how to fundraise. They are not fundraisers. They don't sit at home thinking about fundraising all the time. So you might want to suggest to them that they email their friends and family, because normal people don't think of that. You might want to suggest that they share their fundraising page on social media, because normal people don't think about that. And you might even want to give them wording, because people sometimes tend to not share it on Facebook or share it with their friends and family because they don't really know what to say and they're a little bit embarrassed. So if we can help them with wording, if we can help them with suggestions, it just nudges them to do it. We might also want to suggest that they bring it to their employer. If they can get their employer behind them, it helps their efforts. But you'll also find a number of companies who will match this kind of fundraising or make a donation towards it. And if we don't ask, we don't get. But many normal people, non-fundraisers, don't think of this. And so we have to suggest this to our volunteers, or again, give them some guidance and teach them how to do it. And more than that, what we're trying to do is encourage them, encourage their fundraising. It's like going to the gym and getting a personal trainer. If you know someone is watching, if you know someone is behind you, you work that little bit harder. So we want to support them. We want to give them a little bit of a nudge. And this is proven to encourage people to raise more. So that's why that initial communication and even ongoing communication is so important. Now, most of us have a tendency to encourage them to fundraise online because it's really effective for us in terms of gathering funds, in terms of processing them, in terms of capturing people's details. But let's remember, we're catering for the fundraiser here. The fundraiser is central. So if they want to fundraise online, that's great. If they want to use a particular site, then we're going to try and help them do that. We don't want to try and box them into what suits us, if possible. But remember, still, a lot of people out there want to fundraise offline, and most of our money is coming in offline. So if someone still wants an old-fashioned sponsorship form, or some of their donors want to make the donation in the old-fashioned way, let's encourage that and let's make it happen. Let's not try and box them into the places that we want them boxed into. As I said, we're going to communicate in the run-up to it. We're going to communicate on the day, if possible, and we're going to follow up immediately afterwards. We're going to thank them profusely. We're going to show them what the money they've raised has done, whether that's photos, whether that's sharing stories. Give an indication of what has changed because of their fundraising efforts. That's going to make them feel really special, maybe get them to push it a little bit more, reshare that story, but it makes them more likely to come back and fundraise for you again. We also want to potentially show others. So if they allow it, we want to share their story, their fundraising story, some of their imagery, some of their success. We want to share it online, share it with our corporate partners, share it with other potential fundraisers. This idea of social proof, if we show that other people can do it, especially if they're similar people or similar looking people in the same kind of demographic, then it's going to encourage others to fundraise because it suddenly seems more achievable because someone like them has done it. We're going to follow up with them. We want them to fundraise again. We want them to do more for us. So yeah, we're going to follow up next year. We're going to follow up the next relevant event that they might be interested in. But we want to make sure that we're not just following up when we're asking for something, when we're looking for something. So we're going to follow up in between. We're going to continue to thank them. We're going to continue to share stories. We're going to send Christmas cards. We're going to invite them to stewardship and cultivation events. We're going to give them that kind of inside VIP view of our organization. In the same way we look after our donors, we're going to look after our fundraisers with similar communications, keep them topped up, keep them happy, keep them warm, so that they're more likely to come back to us as fundraisers when the time is right for them and when the time is right for us. And the time for them might not be right. They might not decide not to come back as a fundraiser. People's circumstances change. They might be a student who's fundraising, and then they go and they get a shitty job in the real world, and they don't have much time. So let's not rule out the idea of converting them to donors. I know some people have this kind of rule that fundraisers don't come across as donors. That's nonsense. If their circumstances change, if they want to continue to help in other ways, and if they have the means to do so, we might talk to them about becoming donors, becoming regular donors, becoming one-off donors, even becoming legacy donors. Let's have that conversation. Let's plant that seed, and let's educate them about other ways that they can fundraise. So that's our peer-to-peer fundraisers, our community fundraisers, whatever you want to call them. These are the fundraisers out there who are raising money for us every day. They're driving us. They're like the engine room of the money that's coming into our sector. And so we want to support them. They are great ambassadors for us going out, speaking to more people, getting our name out there, potentially bringing in new people onto our mailing list, potentially bringing in new donors. So let's support them and treat them with the respect that they deserve and be really systematic about it. We have to look after them. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily feel like fundraising, putting this time into them, because we're not asking them for money. But the more time we invest in them, the more we look after them, the more they raise for us. And that is good fundraising. There you go, my friends. That is the end of this week's quick tip. We will be back with another interview on Thursday, almost certainly, probably. And of course, I will be back next week with another less than 10-minute quick tip. Thank you for joining me. Look after yourselves.
You've been listening to Simon Scriver's Amazingly Ultimate Fundraising Superstar podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and head over to changefundraising.com to learn more or get in touch with Simon. Or don't, whatever. You're big enough to make your own decisions.
Hello, this is Morgan Freeman. For discounts on Simon's best-selling online fundraising courses, go to www.changefundraising.com/training and use coupon code podcast. Complete them in your own time, wherever you want. Get busy living or get busy buying.